Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Women's Fitness Academy podcast. I am your host, Elin, one of your hosts, and I am here today with a guest. This is someone that I connected with on Instagram probably like a week ago, but you know me, I move quickly. And as soon as she started following me, I was like, wow, like I need to get to know this person. So reached out. We're actually doing a workshop together. I'm doing a workshop for her, and I was like, you need to come on the podcast. She's just absolutely amazing, and I know you're gonna love her content. Her name is Ash. She is an online women's fitness coach. And yeah, I'm super, super excited to have her on the podcast. So Ash, thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. I love that you're like, we just connected a week ago and so much has happened since a week. It's been so cool.
Yeah, I love that. I was actually, I don't know how much you know about like astrology and like, you know, stuff like that, but I normally wouldn't believe it. But yesterday I did like a human design reading, and it just like everything just like fell into place to me, and I'm like, oh my god, that's why I always get the ball rolling so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. It is pretty cool. Like I must say that I'm not super knowledgeable with astrology and stuff like that, but I am always like the universe always provides, and I just feel like things just happen for a reason, and here we are.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I feel like once you kind of open up that space to have more opportunities, the universe is going to fill those voids. So when you're like those times when you're just holding on to something so tightly, it's like, oh, I can't let go. That's when you just need to let go and trust, and then beautiful people are going to come your way.
I absolutely agree. We're in the current, like right now in this period, this week and next week, we're like in an intake period for new clients. And something that people say to me a lot is like, I don't even know how I found you, but this has just happened, and I feel like it's happened for a reason. And it's just, and I'm like, this happens all the time.
Yeah.
When you feel like somebody is in alignment with you, it's just, there's no questions asked. It's just it's a yes from me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I need this person in my life, or we've connected, and I'm like, yes, you are for our program. So this is, it's so cool. I love it how it works.
Yeah, and that's so freaking true. It's actually anyone, like most of the girls who listen to this, I know that you're coaches, or you coaches, like you want to be coaches, and that's, I think, the biggest thing with having an online business is that you normally don't really know where these people are going to come from. Like most of the people, I don't know about you, but most of the girls that sign up to me, they're like, sometimes they don't even follow me. Sometimes they're like people who never like my content or engage. And it's like, where did this person come from?
Totally. People come from all different angles, and I think that that's something that I have really learned over the years as being a coach, and obviously new clients and onboarding new people is trying to understand where they do actually come from and see if you can see a pattern. But in all honesty, there hasn't been a clear pattern. They come from everywhere. Referrals is a massive one, like friends or family. Obviously, they come through that avenue, and that's your best, most qualified client or potential client. But yeah, they do. Instagram, Facebook, podcast, like having yourself out there everywhere in all different avenues is so powerful.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so good that you can connect with other coaches like this and collab on workshops or podcasts or projects. And yeah, I love it.
Absolutely. So do I.
Right. For the listeners who don't know you, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, what do you do? How did you get into the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Ashleen. I have been a coach for the last 10 years. I actually started Nobody would believe it if you kind of saw my content now, but I actually started in the F45 field. So I actually started by coming in as a coach in F45, doing personal training outside. If you're an F45 trainer or you have known to be anyone that's an F45 trainer, you can coach and do one-on-one PT outside classes, or we could at that point. And I also was managing the studio. And I was there for about 3 or so years, and I had gone through my own my own transformation from a nutrition perspective and also a training perspective. I was never a person growing up that was fit, right? I was never into school sports. Like, I was the kid that would forge a note from my mum to say that she didn't have to do sport, right? I would get out of it. I'm not genetically blessed. I was always picked last on the basketball team. Like, I'm 5'10", and every person you meet, they're like, "You're so tall, you'd be so good at basketball." I'm like, I can't even catch a ball. Like, I am so uncoordinated. So sports was not really my thing. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older, I hit 25. My husband and I were recently married, wanted to have a baby, and I was really, really unhealthy. Like, if I looked at my mindset, what I fueled my body with, I was a really negative mindset, really like fixed mindset, also just ate rubbish. Would barely drink any water. I kid you not, get up in the morning, I'd have like 2 cups of tea, then maybe have a soft drink. Like, I would never drink water, never eat vegetables. And when my husband and I decided that we wanted to have a baby, I was like, well, I've got to do what I know that I can do to give me the best chance of falling pregnant. And I was trying to control things that was inside my control. And I knew that I could improve with moving my body. I knew that I could improve with my mindset. I also knew that I had room to improve with my nutrition. So I kind of went down that path and really tried so hard to be healthy, really, just from a holistic perspective, really, really healthy. And what I discovered was that it was actually quite fun, and it didn't have to be something that felt like a chore, and it didn't have to be something that felt like you had to flog yourself. And I really developed a passion with nutrition, and I loved cooking. And so I started to recreate, meals that might not be so like from a nutrition perspective, healthy, but try to recreate them using things that were actually not heavily processed, and including lots of veggies and stuff like that, and trying to make it actually taste good. And I was actually quite successful at it. And so that led me down to the path of, I really want to learn more about nutrition. So I decided to enroll myself into a nutrition course, which one thing led to another, and I was studying for a few years there, and for no other reason than just to really help myself. And I was like, I just want to learn. I didn't want to become a nutrition coach. I didn't want to work in that field. And then when I did that, I started to really want to learn about training. And then one thing led to another. I did exactly the same thing. I enrolled in my personal training course, and then that kind of just like formed a basis of, okay, now starting to work on myself. So Casey, who is now 10, was born, and I'd already worked on the nutrition side, decided to work on the training side for myself, like really build a solid foundation for training, but also see what I could do and how I could transform myself and how I felt. So that kind of happened, and I worked out. I trained at home for the first, probably, I reckon, maybe 12 months, maybe a little bit longer than 12 months. I trained at home before he would wake up. So oftentimes I'd set my alarm at 4 a.m. so that I could train before he would get up, and that would kind of set me up for the day. And he was quite a challenging baby, and what I found was that helped me become a really present and not angry mum. Was having time for myself in the morning, even though I was tired, and even though he woke up a gazillion times every night crying, and obviously feeding him and whatnot. It made me a better mum. And I got so much out of it. I transformed my mind, I transformed my body, that I was like, I really want to, like, I've got qualifications. I really want to help the everyday mum achieve what I've been able to achieve. Like, I'm just the girl next door, like, not genetically blessed, not like overly intelligent, like I bombed out in high school, right? Like, and here I am being able to transform myself. Like, if I can do it, anyone can do it. So I approached a gym, an F45 gym that was opening up locally to us, and I really was into that kind of training at the time. And one thing led to another. I met the owner, we connected, kind of like how you and I have connected, like it happened so quickly, just aligned really, really well. And he was like, come on in. I'm going to let you shadow us, and then we'll teach you kind of from the ground up from here, which I did. I took the opportunity. I had gone back to work at that time. So I was doing this. So our classes at F45 started at 4 a.m. and I was doing this before work. So I would get up, go there, shadow the trainers, and learn that way. And I just fell in love with it. Within 3 months, they offered me a managerial position. And at that time, I was working in a family run business for the last 8 years, and that was kind of my destiny. It was not my passion. It was just an office job kind of thing. And I was like, yes, I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this with both hands, and I'm really going to immerse myself into it. And it was one of the best things that I ever did. However, what started as like a really healthy relationship with training at the start ended up being a really obsessive, all or nothing approach. I developed a really unhealthy relationship with food. Good was never good enough. I always wanted more. I wanted to be leaner. I wanted to do more sessions. I wanted to be better and better and better. And I started to notice that sliding scale after a few years of being there, and how it really affected my relationships. I was cutting people out of my life. I was spending less and less time with my son, who at that time was not quite 5. And my relationship with my husband was being affected. And I was like, something has to give. Like, this isn't healthy. And then I reached out to a coach who was able to kind of like really help me with my relationship with food. He was really able to help me with, you know what, Ash, it's okay. You don't have to feel guilty if you have a carb. You don't have to feel guilty if you want to have an ice cream here or there. And we can actually have these two things that coexist. And I was blown away. I was like, my goodness. And after months of working with him, I was stronger than I had ever been. I was happier than I had ever been. And I was kind of drifting away from that F45 model because it was something that was no longer aligned with me. I reached a point where I decided to call it quits. And it was quite sad, because it was the thing that really got me into the industry, and I had a really close connection with the owners, and that kind of drifted apart because of my choice to obviously leave, and my passion wasn't there anymore. And it was something that obviously was hard, but it was something that I was seeing so often, challenge after challenge. My clients were going through exactly the same thing that I was going through. And yeah, from working with a coach, my eyes were opened to just this whole other world. And once again, after I had finished working with him, I was like, more people need to know about this. More people need to know that, you can have your cake and eat it too, essentially. You can have this life where you can eat and drink the foods that bring you joy, and also not be afraid to not train 7 days a week, twice a day, 7 days a week. You can, train in a really balanced way. You can go on holidays and not feel guilty for having a cocktail if that's something that brings you joy. And this is something that I was like, this is what I want to base a business around. This is what I really want to do. And yeah, one thing led to another, and Train with Ash is here now. It's been just about 5 years next month. And yeah, it's been the best thing that we have ever done. It's incredible. And I was asked recently, what is the most exciting thing, like what drives you in terms of like your clients' results? Like, what do you love seeing? It's not the before and after for me. It's the total mindset transformation. I could never eat a meal with my family. We'd always have, all different meals. I was always guilty to go out and, have dinner out, or I'd eat before we went. But now I'm eating family meals. I'm training 3 days a week. I'm no longer flogging myself. I feel amazing. My husband and I have a better relationship than we've ever had before. That's the stuff that really gets me and makes me feel like I love what I do.
Yeah, I love that so much. And obviously I work in like the eating disorder space. And one of the main goals that most women have, that when they come into me, is that they want to be able to enjoy a meal with their family, because they've come from other coaches usually that told them literally, like you had experienced in the past, that you had to eat, like everyone had to eat different meals. You could never eat with them because you feel guilty, or it didn't fit your macros or whatever it was. So hearing that this is something that you preach, it just makes me so happy.
It's a feeling that I think that a lot of women don't think that they want. I really think it's something that you don't know what you don't know yet. And your goal might be, and I love that people are coming to you actually and saying, I just want to eat a family meal without feeling guilty. I love that people are at that point because you know that they've been through the ringer. But I think that sometimes we still see people that are like, look, I've let myself go. I've gotten to a point where I've gained, 10 or 20 kilos, and I just need that gone. And I hate using the word desperation, but coming from a place of desperation, like I need to lose this now, you end up doing desperate things, which includes what you just said, doing those extreme things, cutting those foods out, not enjoying, meals with your family. And what happens? They end up losing the weight, but then they gain it back again. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it is so sad to see, but and like I totally get it, because when you are at that space, when you're like, I just need to lose this weight, or I just need to make money, or I just need to stop binge eating, or whatever it is that you're like holding onto so tightly. I mean, it's the exact same thing as we spoke about at the start of the podcast. When you are holding on, when you are so desperate for that thing is not going to happen for you. What you need to do is you need to really just let go and trust and work on that mindset and the long-term vision that you have for yourself, and just focus on that internal happiness and having that balance. Like, what is it that I actually want for my life in my life? Do I want to cook meals for myself for the rest of my life, or my family's having their own food? Like, most people don't want that.
No, you're so right. I think coming back to that, does this align with what I want? And something that I think that over probably the last 12 months, 18 months, alignment has been something that's been so at the core of what I do now. And so we're traveling around Australia at the moment in a caravan. And one of those reasons, one of the main reasons that we are traveling around Australia in a caravan, we sold up absolutely everything that we own. We no longer have a house anymore. Like, we did that because we had this massive goal, right? We just wanted to get this beautiful big house and have the flash cars and live this really extravagant lifestyle. But when we got it, that's not the thing that made us happy. We were actually more miserable than we'd ever been. And I think that's exactly the same when it comes to your fat loss goals. I just have to lose these 20 kilos. I just have to do this. And when I do that, then I'll be happy. But that comes. And if you haven't changed that internal dialogue, that internal identity, if that identity is not changed, you're not going to be any happier than you are today.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm literally getting goosebumps because it's so fucking true. And I wrote a post about this a while. I don't think you were following me at the time, but it was a while ago. And it was literally said just that if you lose the weight and you're not working on yourself, you're not going to be happy, because weight loss doesn't make anyone happier. Like, that confidence boost, the same thing as buying a house. It's like, oh, I feel so great right now. I just bought a house, or everyone's getting me all these compliments. But when those compliments stop, or when they just become like your normal everyday life, you're going to go back to feeling just as shitty as you did when you were 20 kilos heavier.
Yeah, absolutely. It happens all the time. We'll have clients achieve their goals and they're like, still something is wrong, unless they've changed their mind. They're like, yeah, well, I achieved my goal, but it's always something, but once you start to work on this mindset piece, and that's why we've got people like you coming into our program. I have a therapist that I've been working with for the last 2 years, and she has been a guest expert a few times now into our program. So she's going to come in and do goal setting, and that's where I think that having a goal is awesome, right? Setting that I want to lose 20 kilos, but understanding truly why. How many times do we hear, oh, just so I can feel confident? Well, how is losing 20 kilos automatically going to create confidence? Like, that's not the key to confidence, is just losing 20 kilos. So that's a key part understanding your true why. And honestly, once you get down to the core of the why, it's never the confidence. It's okay, but why do you want to be confident? And then you dig a few layers, something completely, different.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think especially like living like the Australian dream and like buying your house and stuff like that, you think that once you've done that, you're gonna be happy. But then fucking like I did buy a house, and I don't know if I regret it, because I feel like that's one of the most expensive, like every single week it's like something else needs to be fixed, or something like mortgage repayment, and this goes up, and it's like, oh, I regret it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just another headache. There's so many times in my life where things like that have happened, and when you come back to what truly brings you joy, something that I realized is that having all of these extravagant things and achieving these massive goals took away my freedom. I felt like because we had this beautiful big house that we had to spend all of our time there, and something that I really liked was going out and adventuring and, trying new things and being a bit spontaneous at times, and achieving that goal actually took that away from me. Now I live in a caravan. There's 3 of us in a caravan. We have literally no personal space, and I'm happier than I've ever been. We've been traveling for 9 months, and all of those flash things are gone.
Yeah.
It's if anything, it's the complete opposite. When we moved into the caravan, our rule was, and some women listening to this will probably die. One of our rules was packing 7 items of clothing per kind of like genre. So 7 workout outfits, 7 like going out outfits. We were only allowed to have 2 jumpers. Just like literally the most basic minimum. And then if we buy something, then you take something out of your cupboard. Like if you get a new outfit, well, then what one are you swapping that with? And it's been the best thing we've ever done.
Yeah, no, I'm so for that. And coming from, I used to live in Bondi, and in Bondi, that's where I felt it was very materialistic. And it was just about having the nicest clothes, the nicest car, and buying a house and all this stuff. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to move here to Bali, to get away from it. And now I can literally pack up my whole life in 2 suitcases. I have barely anything that's expensive, or I don't have anything. My laptop is probably my most expensive thing. And I honestly, like you said, like I'm so much happier when you don't feel like you need to buy all those things, because you realize that those things, cool, you might get that initial high when you buy it, but then it's like, oh well, now it just sits there, like that nice bag or whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that's so in our face now as well. Like every business podcast, or maybe not podcast, but maybe Instagram. Okay, let's use that as an example. Like the highlight reel. Every business Instagram account that you follow, and obviously being this podcast here, there's probably going to be a lot of coaches here, right? So they might follow business accounts. You're sold that you want the handbag, and you want the Porsche, and you want this and you want that, and that's the lifestyle. But I don't know. I'm more impressed by the, living the simple life and doing the things that really just make you truly happy. And the handbag and the Porsche and that, it's honestly, it's nice, and it's a nice achievement. And yes, whatever. But I just think, I don't know. I think it's not the bee's knees. It's not all what it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, for sure. And I know so many people as well who have bought a really expensive house, or even here, they're paying like a shit lot of money for a villa, and they never leave, because they like you felt with your house, they feel like they have to be there to like get their money's worth. Well,
Totally.
I pay like barely anything for where I'm staying, and I'm always out and about, and I'm having the best time ever.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
It just goes down to your own personal values, I guess. Like if you love those expensive things and cars and whatever, then you should go for that. But just know that you don't have to live like that if you don't truly feel aligned with it.
Totally.
So with your Instagram, when you shared like who was gonna speak in your challenge and stuff like that, I was like, wow, like those are gonna be like pretty big names. Like how did you grow your Instagram and your business to where it is now?
So my Instagram started by me just sharing my own journey. So like it was just like a personal kind of account. And when I decided to go balls deep, as I call it, into my own business and not work for somebody, I basically, one of my main things, one of my like top values was share as much as you possibly can or as much value as you can and expect nothing in return. So I've spoke about this on a few different occasions, but one of my principles that I live by is the coach that gives the most value wins. Now, I don't say that in a way to create some unnecessary, competition. It's certainly not that. But I say that to have a principle to live by, to just keep giving, 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 and not expecting anything in return. And as a result of that, I was able to grow Instagram, but also create quality connections in that, like sharing quality posts, but also sharing behind the scenes of our life and just showing up consistently has just snowballed, and it's just built momentum to create connection, to build know, like, and trust, to enable people to, obviously then come and buy off us. So that's how kind of like the Instagram account has grown. Connections to like networking, like over the years I've just built lots of different connections here and there, that has enabled me to, like Lucy Lord is going to be a guest speaker, right? Like just having a connection that is friends with Lucy has enabled us to connect in that way, and we actually hit it off. Like we're both very similar people, and she's like, I'd love to do this. So, like just I think patience and obviously just talking and getting to know different people has been a huge driver of that, of being able to get those connections on our or in our program.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what I've seen lately in a big change in the industry is that a lot more people are willing to collaborate. Well, I feel like a few years ago it was like, no, like why would I ever have someone come in and guest speak on my in my program? Like that's like they're gonna steal my clients or whatever. Well, like I can do that, but I love that there's like guest speaker. Like I see it in almost everyone's Instagrams now that they've had, I don't know, gut health experts or hormone experts or training experts, like just different topics for their clients. And I think that's so important, especially like for you girls who are just growing your businesses. Like collaboration is such an easy way to grow quickly, because then you get to show your expertise for their clients, and their clients get benefits from that, and you get to connect with other trainers. You can swap services with each other, go on each other's podcasts, share each other's things. It's just like it's not a competition. We're all on the same team. We all have that same goal. So why shouldn't we use each other's expertise to get our clients the best possible results?
I totally agree with you. I think there is still a bit of fear around having that collaboration, and I think there is still a little bit of fear about, oh, what if they take clients? But the way that I like to view it is, oh my goodness, how many people live in this world? There is enough people to go around to service us all, right? I mean, I can't service 1 million clients. Right, with our current systems in place, I can't service 1 million people. Yeah. So there's definitely enough clients to go around, first thing. But also, like, if you're speaking to your ideal client directly, then you will attract the people that are or will, align with you. And I think that that's also important to remember as well. Like, showing up, being your authentic self, not trying to be somebody that you're not trying to be better than you are, or, just being authentic and being sometimes vulnerable. Like, something that I think a lot of people don't actually like to do is just show that vulnerable side. And that's something that I have always done. I was diagnosed with MS in January, and from the minute that I walked into the hospital, not knowing what was wrong with me, people on my Instagram knew. And I know that that's not for everybody, but things like that's just an example of showing up and being vulnerable in times that maybe like times that are actually like where it's actually happening, like it's real time. It builds a new level of trust. It builds a new level of connection with your clients, and people can resonate with that sometimes. That you're a real human. You know, you're not perfect all the time. And I think just showing that side can be extremely, powerful. And it's something that's really helped us, especially with building a community.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And especially when, you have those influencers who are only showing the highlight reel. They only show
Yeah.
the glamorous photo shoots and showing up with, full face of makeup and looking absolutely gorgeous all the time. And I think it's really important. That's one of the reasons why I love your page so much, because it is real. It is about you. It's about you guys traveling and like going to the gym, being sweaty. And it's not just about having like looking absolutely perfect and photo ready all the time, like showing that you can actually take a photo of yourself when you have just trained or when you, I don't know, working or whatever. Like it doesn't have to be that glamorous shoot that you see so much of on Instagram.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I have never been, and this is kind of like, this is my personal brand, but I've never been somebody that has, bikini photos on my Instagram. It's not something that I generally do. It's not something, I don't walk around in my bikini all the time, unless you're swimming. So I don't know. I just think it's something that has never really appealed to my audience, and it's something that, yeah, I've never really done. So I think that having proper, like those aesthetic feeds where you've got your proper photography style photos, they can be important, and they do obviously serve a purpose. But I think just that those real raw photos, those real raw videos that aren't highly polished, I don't know, they just sit well with people. They show that you're a real human. And it also shows to people what is actually realistically possible too. Sometimes seeing a highly polished a photo that's been professionally photographed from somebody, it can feel like, oh, I can't achieve that, and it may not resonate well with your audience. So having a mixture is always good.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I do love those glamorous shoots when you just
Totally.
feel like a princess and you get all glammed
Yeah.
up. But I think it's, like you said, so important to have that balance, and especially like treat your stories like a freaking diary. That's what I do. Like, oh, hey guys, now I'm going here and now I'm doing this.
Yep,
People want to be
totally.
included.
They do. They do. Like when I see somebody that I love to follow and love and update in their life, when I see that they haven't posted it, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, where are you? Like,
are you okay?
People are treating, your page exactly the same. And I think that's a really good point as well to share with people is start sharing what you like to consume. Like if you like to watch somebody else's life, you like to know that they went and had a coffee in the morning or whatever it might be, but share what you like to watch, and that can always help too.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think, yeah, that's such a good tip. I wanted to ask about your MS as well. Have you noticed this? Like, is this affecting your everyday life at the moment, or have you changed anything since you got the diagnosis?
It doesn't affect my day-to-day life in general. I have noticed that my brain and my words don't speak in alignment all that much or all that well like it used to. Sometimes I'm like, what is that word? I don't know what that word is. So there's like little things like that. But outside of that, my strength is improving. When I was diagnosed, I lost all feeling in the lower half of my body. So it was literally happened overnight. I just woke up one day and I was like, I don't have any feeling in the lower half of my body. I could walk, but the sensation was no longer there.
What?
And I was like, what is this? I had no idea what it was. It was pretty wild. And yeah, one thing led to another. And yes, I was diagnosed with MS 5 days later. So after spending 5 days in hospital, they had no idea what was wrong with me. Then I was diagnosed with MS at that point. But one thing that I realized is that I had no strength. So when my feelings started to come back, my strength just wasn't there. And it's still not back to what it was before. Like I did a reel a couple of weeks ago, and it was like, I'm back to squatting 35 kilos. Like it's crazy, but at the end of the day, it's not the setback for me. Like whilst I'm physically not as strong as I used to be, I'm a hell of a lot mentally stronger just having gone through what I've gone through. So from that perspective, like strength is definitely not there. I'm definitely fine with coordination at the start. I wasn't, like, it's all come back over time. So I was diagnosed on the day before Australia Day. Then I've had treatment. So everybody that gets MS is offered different kinds of treatment. So I have an infusion that's delivered every 6 months. So I've had one and I'm due for my next one on Friday. So this Friday I'll go in, you go to hospital for the day, and you literally have an infusion that takes about 6 hours. And all it does is keeps the disease from getting worse. So they can't fix what has happened. I have 2 lesions on my brain and 1 on my spine, which is why I lost the feeling to the lower half of my body. They can't fix that, but the treatment, it's called Ocrevus, that treatment will prevent me from getting any more lesions and then my MS from progressing any worse.
Wow, I honestly don't barely know anything about MS, so that's super interesting to hear. Is it the same for everyone who is diagnosed, that they can get that and then it kind of stops, or is it like different levels of how bad you can be?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was initially diagnosed, the doctor said to me that I would be in a wheelchair and that I would probably never walk, or eventually get to a point where I'd never walk again.
Your heart must have
Which was actually, it was horrible. It was the worst day of my life. I'm not even joking. And once I kind of dug into it a little bit more, what I realized was that MS is actually a spectrum. So it's like, there's people on one end of the spectrum that can't potentially walk, that may be in a wheelchair, and there's people on the other end of the spectrum like me who can live quite a normal life. When I say quite a normal life, you've got your 6-month infusions where you're reminded that you have MS, and you can have flare-ups. So when it gets really hot, it provides, like, for me, a tingling sensation in my feet, and I get really like swollen feet. So that's kind of like a flare up for me, but it's different for everybody. Like some people lose their sight. Some people lose, feeling maybe or sensation in one side of their body. Some people, like I said, end up in a wheelchair. So it's really different for everybody, and it's got to do with where the lesions appear. So a lesion is kind of like a cut. If you want to kind of like explain it like that, it's like a little cut in your brain or on your spine, and then over time it will heal and it remains like a scar. And so so for me, where I had the lesion appear on my spine, the signal that is being sent up and down my spine was obviously disrupted, which is why I lost feeling to the lower half of my body. As that lesion healed, and became like a scar, it actually appears to be smaller on your spine, and then therefore the signals were able to go up and down my spine again, and that's why I got feeling back. So the treatment is different for everyone depending on how bad or the severity of it. So not everybody can have my treatment. It's because I essentially haven't got, some people have 8 lesions on their brain, like I have 2. So where I am in terms of my MS, and because it was acted on really quickly as well, I'm able to have that treatment that enables me to, spend a day in hospital every 6 months and kind of get on with my life, really.
So, is it genetic, or like how does someone get? Can it just happen to anyone?
It definitely can. I always thought it was genetic, and something that I learned was that it's not. So I don't have anyone in my family with MS. It's kind of like a lucky draw, like literally like winning the lotto. Like it's kind of like that. It's, I just got really lucky one day, as I like to call it, and it happened. So, for example, it can happen off the back end of getting sick. And so the doctor explained it to me like kind of like how some people get cold sores. And sometimes a cold sore will appear when you're under stress, or maybe you've been ill, your immune system is down, and a cold sore might appear. It's the same with the lesions. So they were able to see that the 2 lesions on my brain have been there for a very long time and obviously never affected me. When the one on my spine appeared, they were able to see that it was very fresh. So it had only just appeared. And prior to that, I was actually a little bit sick. So it's probably something that has been flared up off the back end of me being unwell. And it's happened. They have no idea really how. They are very, very, very close to having a cure, which is probably in the sense of a vaccine. I won't be able to have it because I've already have MS. But the way that they describe it is that kids of our, like for example, my son, he's 10. He will never really know a life of MS because by the time that their generation grows up, none of their friends or anything will have MS. Kind of like polio. So if we ask our parents, maybe our parents might know somebody that has had polio and they'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. But we now, our age group, we don't know anyone with polio because they came up with a cure. It will be the same for MS.
Wow. Oh my God. That's so interesting that they're working on such a cure. That's so cool. Honestly, just what the medical, what they can do in medicine, it blows my mind when I hear some of the treatments. Crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's nuts. It's pretty cool, to be honest. Like when it happened, they took a whole heap of blood tests from me and said, do you mind if we use this in your research? And I'm somebody that really dislikes blood tests. But I said to Brad, like my husband, I was like, whilst it was one of the most heartbreaking things that I've ever been through, and I was like, at the time, I was like, I don't want this. Like, I can handle anything that life throws at me. But I was like, I don't want this. This is not what I want. This is not supposed to be how it's supposed to be. Once I came to terms with that, I was like, can you imagine if me having that blood test that they're using in their research has enabled them to somewhat unlock a new level of their cure? And that means that there's people now that don't ever have to go through this. Like, I think that that's pretty damn cool. So whilst, yeah, it was challenging at the start, like, I'm like, it is what it is. I have MS. It's fine. And I choose to use it to, maybe spread more awareness, help other people that think that they're kind of doomed. Like, I actually have a few clients that do have MS now, and they're like, I was drawn to you because, you're still getting up and about and you're living life. And it really is a silent disease. Like, you can't really see it, right? But what the person feels, it's internal. Like, you do have brain fog, and your words and your brain sometimes don't mesh up together, right? But it is what it is, and no one can see that generally, but you can. And I don't know, just normalizing that it's okay and we'll be fine and we can still do normal things. So yeah.
Wow, what a journey. God, I like you even more now. I think you're so strong and so inspiring, and it's just been such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. But tell us, like, what's coming up next for you? Are you going to travel anymore of Australia? Do you have any challenges or anything coming up that you want to plug?
We currently have our third and final intake of the year for Train with Ash coming up. Now that starts on the 25th of September. We do 3 intakes a year, and we also run 3 fights where we invite people into our challenge that are ready to lose fat and keep it off without restricting all the amazing foods and drinks that they love, without giving up their life and doing endless cardio. So we run 3 of those a year. Off the back end of that, we have our intake. So that's coming up. That's what we'll be doing for the rest of the year. And we're in the process of working on our own app as well. So that's something big that's happening.
Exciting.
It's exciting. It's big.
Yeah.
It's things like that from a caravan. Living from a caravan certainly is challenging. However, it's not impossible. And, you know, if it's something that you want to do, if it's something that you love, then you will find a way to make it work, which is what we are currently doing. Next year, we have no idea what we're doing with travel plans. So we're just going to keep traveling until we don't like it anymore. Like
No, I love
until we're
that.
like, you know what,
Yeah.
let's maybe, you know, get a house again or something like that. We even toyed with the idea of moving to Bali for a few months. So
Yes.
I
Come
don't
live
know.
with me.
We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens. We'll just do whatever, honestly, whatever just brings us joy in the moment.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. Ash, it's been so nice to have you on the podcast. And yeah, thank you so much again for taking the time out of your day to jump on and speak with me for almost an hour now. Guys, if you like this podcast, please, as usual, make sure you do take a screenshot. You tag myself, you tag Ash, you tag Women's Fitness Academy. We will link everything that you just said in the show notes as well. So if you want to reach out to her, if you're interested in the challenge or anything like that, make sure you do send her a message.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate your time.
Of course, of course. All right, thanks, Ash, and everyone else. I will probably speak to you next week. Bye.